a lineage, have a heritage of about 5,000 years. 500,000 years. So that's when the pyramids were being built, that the heritage dates all the way back to. We had a civilization here while the pyramids were being built in Egypt. So, and the culture is very rich and very much alive and still practiced today. And there's different bands that live throughout the area. There's a tunnel to the sunken gardens right there, but I think we're getting you back for all aboard, so you won't be going back to it. And then we're going to come in and do a trip across town. In the 90 minutes, you're going to see from one side to the other. We've got the Museum of Northern British Columbia coming up on the right-hand side, and that's in a traditional log house. So the original accommodation of the local people wasn't wigwams or tents. It was these really long houses. And the museum is in a cedar longhouse. So really beautiful, and it's got a lot of world-class exhibits to the local people. And we only have a rush hour in Prince Rupert on cruise ship days. Otherwise, there's no traffic. We got loads of pedestrians on cruise ship days. Otherwise, we're fine. Safeway is our one-stop grocery shop. We've got a Starbucks and a pharmacy inside. Definitely Christmas shopping and all that kind of thing doesn't happen in Prince Rupert. It's online, or it's to Terrace, which is about an hour and a half away. We do have a very small museum, the Fire Station Museum. If you prefer museums on a smaller scale, it only opens up on cruise days, and it's got one exhibit. It's a 1925 REO Speedwagon coming up on the left. Yeah, it's still there. There we go. Now, none of you have been to Prince Rupert, I don't think. So back in the early 1900s, this was just a tent town. There was nothing here. And a gentleman by the name of Charles Hayes came out prospecting, looking for what he wanted to build as the San Francisco of the North. He wanted to build a huge port here because we're only 3 days sail to Asia. So he came into Prince Rupert to load water while he was recceing out the coast to see where he could build this port. And he discovered that Prince Rupert Harbour is protected with forest and trees and an inlet. It's also the third deepest ice-free harbour that we have. So it gets deep very quickly, which is great for shipping. So he decided this was amazing and chose Prince Rupert as his port. He wanted to build the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway, which would be a railway line clear across Canada. So with the import-export coming from Asia and then the railway line, we can send things right across to the Walmart shipment centres. He came out in 1903, and by 1910, he had built 2/3 of the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway, so he was doing really well, but he ran out of funds. So he did a trip back to America to campaign and to raise funds to complete the railway line. And he did really well because everybody at the turn of the 20th century knew they would make their money back if they invested in a railway. So by 1912, he had amassed chests of jewels, he had all this money, and he was on his way back to complete the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway. Nobody had heard of Charles Hayes, nobody had heard of Prince Rupert, but I bet everybody's heard of the Titanic. So Mr. Charles Hayes boarded the Titanic with all the money and all the dreams, and it all ended up at the bottom of the ocean. So yeah. So with that, the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway actually went bankrupt, and then it was later completed by Canadian Rail. So it is a railway line clear across Canada. Charles Hayes was a gentleman, and he escorted his wife, his maid, and his daughter off into the lifeboats. But he was the first body that was recovered after the sinking of the Titanic. And with it, all the dreams for his Prince Rupert went away. As we come around, so we're on the ocean, and we're very, very spoiled because in winter we actually get humpback whales right in the harbour that you can see from the shore. And I've seen a pod of orca come through once too, so we're very spoiled. And then coming around, you can see this station house. This is one of the last standing station houses of the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway, because the railway goes through really hostile territory through the forest. Some of the railway stations, the only access is the railway station. This Quinitza station wasn't always here. It was actually floated down on a barge from about 50 miles up the Skeena River. and it arrived here in 1986 on Canada Day, the 1st of July, and it's now a railway museum. So inside there you can learn about just how it was to be one of the linesmen working on the railway station. It was the ticketing office, and then the families and the workers would also have lived inside. The Quinitsa station also houses Charles Hayes' blueprints for the city. So all his dreams, the blueprints are inside for what the city would have looked like. So Francis Rattenbury built our Parliament buildings in Victoria, and Charles Hayes had commissioned him to build a sister hotel to the Emperor Hotel, which would have been a Gothic masterpiece up on the bluff up there, but none of it came to fruition. And there are still some locations along the railway that the only access, like there's villages out there, but the only access is the railway.